And that's what we're seeing for a lot of these customers is that it doesn't matter if you're doing an upgrade or you're doing a migration or any of these, the ability to get the data where it needs to be in the new environment and not have a lot of downtime or not have any downtime at all is crucial when we're talking about a mission critical system.
The other topic that you brought me to now by mentioning Oracle migration. So we have a success story in DBS Bank, Development Bank of Singapore, one of Southeast Asia's largest, if not the largest bank, who have migrated hundreds of Oracle applications, not by migrating the individual applications, but by having MariaDB server comply with Oracle syntax. So instead of first migrating it and then realizing that, okay, you need to update the data that has happened since you started the migration, you really just turn the switch on the application so that it no longer works with Oracle, but with MariaDB. So I think that's the word migration can mean so many different things, and just turning the switch from database A to database B is I think the scalable way of getting it done.
So it's compatible with PL SQL.
It is compatible, yes and no. So yes, it is compatible with the PL SQL being in actual production use in the applications at DBS Bank. No, it doesn't have all PL SQL characteristics.
Makes sense. And that's probably the biggest challenge, I think, and I call it the sticking point for a lot of Oracle databases is the PL SQL and the internal packages that are being used by it. So that MariaDB has that capability is a power play for it as a target for any Oracle database when they're actually considering how do I get off Oracle.
So I'd like your comment on the migration strategy, or shall we call it tactics, that DBS Bank used. So once they decided into going into this, they first migrated a low-hanging fruit, as you would, showing us more or less a production proof of concept that yes, it can be done. But then they decided to pick the most difficult of all of their internal Oracle-based applications. And the point of that was that they could then show that as an example for all of the political resistance departmental heads, saying, yes, of course, you could move that low-hanging fruit one, but ours is so much more complex and ours won't work. And now they actually, I mean, it took over half a year to get that first complex or the most complex database migrated, but after that, there was zero political resistance, because if they could do it, so can you.
I think that's really important too. I always go back and forth between folks when they tell me I'm going to grab the most difficult system and try to, refactor it and try to move it or migrate it. And then at the same time, I understand that challenge that you can say, if I did it with this difficult one, I can do it with anyone, because you never know what you're going to come into. When I'm looking at an Oracle database, and I used to do this for Azure for 5 years, I ended up being their Oracle SME, is that you would identify how many times it was calling DBMS internal packages, because you were going to have to refactor and write out that code. You wouldn't have it in the target database. And if you can find that out and find out that they've written out their PL SQL, then you might have a chance of being able to do that. So I'm assuming that that's what they did. That was the first thing they checked. Find out how much dependencies do they have on the internal code from Oracle versus we just wrote this in PL SQL and we can just turn this over into MariaDB and it'll pick up and run with it. And that's those things that you're looking for. If you can do that and you can win with it, then you have the ability to refactor into an open source database and literally save millions and millions of dollars in licensing fees.
Indeed, and the only word I react against in your comment there is the word refactor, because it to me means that you rewrite an existing application. In this case, no refactoring of the Oracle applications were done. It was just engineered within MariaDB so that MariaDB was able to execute those things that existed in PL SQL and the other capabilities of Oracle that MariaDB didn't have. But otherwise, that's the very same logic that you were describing.
Yep. And I think you confirmed for me that they didn't have to do that refactoring because they were able to flip that switch.
Exactly.
But most of my customers did. You would find out they had those internal dependencies. Yeah.
So much as it is fun to discuss both MySQL and Oracle, let's move to AI.
Yeah.
I think that's a complex topic. What is the role of AI in databases? So let me give you a brief thinking about what I think, at least from a MariaDB perspective, the role is. So to put it in very big words, it is to say that the database is the bridge from the customers, the users' data to the world of AI, and that's very sort of pretentious. To say the same thing in fairly different words is to say that, well, if you start with something like a vector database implementation, what you can do is that you can embed the data that you have in your database in a format which is understandable by AI, or which means that if you have a prompt and have indexed using this vector index in a similar with a similar engine, or even a different engine, your data, then what you can do is you can using this RAG application idea, you can offload AI from having to do lots of LLM type processing, because you've already done that once using your embedded indices, and you can use normal traditional IT, so to speak, by selecting the bits within the database which are relevant for your particular prompt. So you would have database I/O and you would have database processing, but not LLM tokens, not AI tokens, up until you've compiled the data from the database, and then you say, using the data that I just picked from the database, please answer this prompt, and you can give that even to another engine than the one with which you embedded stuff. And I think that is, it's perhaps a trivial role, but it's a fairly all-encompassing way of using AI together with databases.
Yeah.
So what's your view?
Very similar. One of the things that I find interesting is that as much as we say, oh, databases are legacy, we're going to get rid of databases, we're getting away from RDBMSs. RDBMSs hold the gold standard for data for the world. There's no way of getting away from that. And that databases were part of what people wanted to get a hold of. As much as we said, well, we want to get a hold of this, unstructured data and PDFs and all of it. And yes, AI does phenomenally well with messy data. They wanted the clean, the structured data. And we've spent decades getting this clean data that is inside our relational systems. So folks all of a sudden said, can we do this? And all of a sudden vectors came about, and all of a sudden we were getting databases connected to write processing and using it with AI. And I believe that's absolutely essential. This is where our most valuable data is in our relational systems. So folks, of course, are using it, and connecting databases was one of the gold standards for anything that anybody is doing with an AI project. As part of that, all of a sudden, technical debt, and when we start getting into technical data and what you're holding on to that shouldn't be in there anymore, is extremely important, because AI has a tendency to think for the universe. And so people are kind of coming back into their databases and deciding what they need to retain, what they need to kind of just not keep a hold of, an archive, and to actually have AI only accessible to what it needs to know. They are also realizing that data lakes can quickly become data swamps, and that it is essential to look at the right sources of data and know where your golden copy is, your golden source. And our relational systems are it. And we remember the days when we had our transactional system that went into our data warehouse, that went into our data marts, and then we would have our data sets. And this was a clean way of knowing where data might, you kind of went to your analytics and your reports, and if something happened downriver, you could easily follow it back and clean up anything if there were any data mistakes. And this has changed recently with the introduction of data lakes, that sometimes it's gotten messy, and people are coming through and kind of going back into data lineage and making sure that their data is clean, so that AI does not end up in the situation, what we call, of garbage in, garbage out. this is really affecting the quality of AI. So AI is now the center point for this, of people wanting to get innovation and value from AI, that our databases are really the cornerstone of where to get quality, good data to feed AI so that it learns better.
Excellent. No, I was thinking this was going to be a long discussion on AI, but I think we were very, very compressed, and
We did.
I think that's the exact answer, and also a very big answer to comprehensive answer as to how AI and databases fit together.
Yeah.
So yeah, what else should I be asking? I mean, these were the questions I had in my mind, and the questions that you inspired me to ask right now.
Can you share with me where MariaDB is going? Because I think, for me, I have always been multi-platform, and I do believe that you use the right tool for the job when you are coming into a database world. Again, I started out in Oracle, and I would have people throw Oracle at everything. And I'm like, you don't need to throw Oracle at everything. There are opportunities here where you should be using, especially like MariaDB. I have brought it in when Oracle was just the wrong choice for a database. It was like, bring in MariaDB. There's no reason for us to have the redo log, the undo log, and writing all of these, and you're pulling in clicks and views from a website. Understanding using the right platform for what you're designing is extremely crucial. What is the future for MariaDB?
So I think you should throw MariaDB at everything.
Yeah.
To give a bit of a fun answer. No, so I think that the first dichotomy is open source or not open source, and of course, I think that open source should be picked whenever it's humanly possible, and it usually is humanly possible. And then the following dichotomy then is okay. So which database to pick? Would you pick something from the MariaDB MySQL universe, or would you pick Postgres? And that then I think is not only a matter of technology. It's also a matter of how you were brought up and what you happen to know. And people usually pick not what the best choice is, but they pick what they know, because we all pick the tools that we know. And for those who are open-minded in trying, in questioning their own choice, I would say that MariaDB would be the right choice. Like the traditional answer would be, if it's read heavy, if you need scalability in read performance, go with MariaDB. But there are so many different nuances to this, and one of the properties of MariaDB, of course, it's the storage engine architecture. So DB is really good for read-heavy stuff, and there would be even more read-heavy type traditional MyISAM or ARIA, as we call it now, storage engines. But because of the storage engine architecture, all of these newer or different architectures that are write-heavy also have an opportunity within the MariaDB ecosystem. And there, we're nowhere as near production stability as it is with InnoDB. I'm just saying that, our future, like if you're asking where is MariaDB going, we're going in the direction of covering ever more use cases. And then the other answer on where MariaDB is going would be related to, shall we say, the ecosystem and the role played by the contributors. So traditionally, with an academic background as opposed to our very pragmatic background, you would have a universe, a plethora of contributors who have learned Postgres in their particular university. Where with MariaDB and its ancestor MySQL, it didn't start from something that implemented all aspects of SQL, but was a bit buggy and was a bit slow. It started from solving particular needs, and it was we used to have the Holy Trinity mantra of stability, performance, ease of use. And we have then sort of gone closer to Postgres, where Postgres added stability and performance and ease of use, and we added functionality. But you can still see the roots where we came from, and whenever there is a pragmatic solution for us, we will go for that pragmatism, meaning upgrades are super easy with us. They might not be equally easy with coming from a Postgres universe, and high availability is also something which is very much needed in a pragmatic solution. So we come from not from the academics, but we come from the practice of eating your own dog food, and I'm telling that as guidance for those who pick their database based on shall we say a rational understanding of the philosophy behind it. So yeah, that was my rough answer to your question.
Thank you. And I know you've advanced like your JSON handling and that. Is that specifically for a lot of the AI that we're seeing in that messy data that people are looking for?
It is being used by the messy data, but JSON predates our vector stuff. So of course, we were following what like any pragmatic tool does. We were following what the users needed, and users wanted to store JSON objects, which is why we then enabled it. And that's also something like almost everything in the database industry, a grayscale kind of thing. So it's not a binary feature. Do you have JSON? Do you not have JSON? But we've covered more and more use cases, and I think we are now fairly complete, and it definitely benefits the AI users of today.
And the Sky SQL acquisition, I thought, was a really big deal too for MariaDB, that you were able to say, hey, we're taking this back. We're going to show you how it's really done.
Absolutely, and well, I come from the MariaDB Foundation, and Sky SQL obviously is MariaDB PLC, and so we are more in the technological thing, and the reason that you mentioned, of course, was more business and financial, and that's sort of not our aspect to comment. But otherwise, I'm completely with you that a database does need a cloud incarnation, much like AI is a mandatory thing. It's not something optional. So is the cloud.
Not anymore. Yeah, AI and cloud is there. There's no way to avoid it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions for me today?
I think I gave all my follow-up questions to you. This was a super interesting discussion. I learned a lot, and I'm really happy to have heard your take on MariaDB. So thanks a lot, Kellyn.
I enjoyed speaking with you today. Thank you so much.